Good day, internet friends, and here we are again at the bicycle junkyard, also the area where we do our work, and got a few updates on the old Dodge project here. We've got most of it pulled apart here. Our short block is got the pistons removed and the crankshaft removed, and it looks to be in pretty good shape. I don't know if this engine has ever been reconditioned before, but you know, these cylinder walls are really nice. There was really just a little bit of carbon buildup, as you can see here, but I didn't need a ridge reamer to pull the pistons out, no problem. Everything came out real smooth. And check the block casting number, and it in fact is stock. There were some interesting changes though in the early 90s with these 318 engines, and it appears that this one was one of those experimental engines. Now I was trying to figure out what heads I had. I assumed they were just crap bullshit swirl port heads, which I guess I could have gotten away with those. So yeah. Oh, and by the way, has been raining like a motherfucker. I haven't been able to do anything to this thing for like 2 weeks because it's just been freaking raining. I mean, look at this mud. This was just all silt. The whole mountain pretty much just washed out this whole area here, like, and buried everything in like 3 inches of mud. Luckily, I had my heads on these pallets here, but they're obviously going to need some work. But these are casting number 714 heads, which technically means they're basically magnums, but they're not magnums. They have like the ports of magnums here. You can kind of see they look like magnum ports. If they were LA ports, they'd be a little bit shorter and wider than that. But speaking of ports, that's basically what needs to be done to these next, is just maybe besides cleaning off some of the flash rust on there and spraying them down with WD-40, but essentially it'd be great if I could get them machined. One thing I really don't like about them that I do like about Chevys is the valve covers are just cast gaskets here. I mean, really guys, wouldn't take you, I mean, what would it take? I'd probably just send this to a machine shop to have it decked all the way around here so that it's just a nice machined surface and the valve covers sit on there and make a nice seal. You know, you have to have a big super thick gasket, and they always leak after a while, so I never really was a big fan of that design. But there's a lot of other really good things about this engine that I do like though. I'm not sure about the rocker ratio on here. I think it's probably, it might be 1 to 6. I don't know. I mean, the compression ratio is pretty low. I guess I should measure these valves. I still have to pull the valves off right here. I have to see if my valve compressor tool will work with these. So it's kind of where we're at, but everything seems to be in rebuildable shape. The water jackets are looking good. Basically the only things that are clogged up are the smog ports, which were blocked off years ago. That was probably the last time anybody did anything to this engine. Otherwise it looks pretty bone stock, and maybe it really does only have 150,000 miles or whatever on it. I don't know. I have no idea. But when I first got this engine, the smog was all, like, the air pump was gone and all of the smog lines were blocked off. I'm going to be deleting all of that. In fact, I'll be deleting everything. All this stuff. The exhaust is going. I think I really ought to get a new power steering pump. I'm not sure if I want to convert over to a serpentine belt from a Magnum engine, or if I want to keep the V belts, the configuration of the LA engine. It would always squeal, and I don't know if it was just like if I had a bad water pump or something. Something would squeal if I got this thing anywhere near like 3,000 RPM. So I kind of drove it like a grandpa. But if I want to hit anything above that, you know, I'm going to have to address the belt issue, and I'm pretty sure it was the power steering pump that would squeal. So that just tells me that the whole system probably needs to be flushed and overhauled with a new pump. So steers just fine. But anyway, kind of moving on here, we got our pistons out, and they don't look too bad. They are cast pistons, so I'll probably be replacing these, but they're not too bad. Just regular flat, not quite zero deck. These things sat probably like 100,000ths of an inch from the top of the deck, so which is, you know, typical for the era to be about 8.5 to 1 compression. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do now. The cam is still in here, and it's got a cool feature, which is roller lifters, roller hydraulic lifters that have hollow push rods. So the oil gets pushed through the push rods, and that's how the rockers are oiled. And that's a good thing for an engine like this. Which kind of throws me off, because I wanted to get the Hughes Whiplash cam, but unfortunately that's a flat tappet cam, which would mean I'd need a whole new set of lifters for this application. And it would kind of be like taking a step back, if you ask me. Even though that cam is really cool, it's really for the guy that just has a stock engine and is basically only changing the cam. I'm doing everything. New pistons. Our crank shaft is over here, and I need to get all this stuff inside here pretty soon. I'll probably just put it in the cab of my truck, because of course we got more clouds. In fact, there's a storm right there that's probably going to rain down on us any minute here, so I got to get these engine parts out of the rain and put the sleeve back over the block again and put it up. And maybe I'll move the heads too. Everything just needs to go inside at this point, because this is the wet part of the year, and you can see the intake has already got a ton of flash rust on it from sitting out here. Don't plan on using that intake anymore though, so not even worried about it. So I guess that's the other thing. We'll see. I'm gonna order the air gap, the Edelbrock air gap intake manifold, and it should bolt up to those heads. Should. I can't guarantee it, but like the shape of these heads is the same casting that they used for all Magnums, even though it shares some characteristics of the old LA heads. So I don't know what the rocker ratio is. I think it's 1.6, but it might be 1.5. And it should have slightly bigger valves. I'll have to measure those valves and see what size they are once I get them out. There's a whole lot of work to do, so right now I'm just going to weatherproof everything again so it can rain this afternoon. And I'm supposed to go bike riding in an hour. I'm not feeling it now. Not feeling it now. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to cancel that ride. I don't like riding in thunderstorms, especially at 10,000 feet. We'll see. Yeah, so it's just been one of those kind of days where it's kind of rainy, so I got the condom back on the old engine block there, and so I've just been kind of working on that engine bay here. Now, another one of the problems with this truck is that it had a weird voltage regulator problem. The voltage would oscillate. I made a video about this previously, and I never really did quite figure it out, but I'm still running the same voltage regulator over here, which I bypassed. The old one was in the computer, which is tucked under the driver's side fender right there. So it's going to be a little cleaner looking in here. Most of these wires are going away. Like, the only wires that I'm keeping are the ones that are essential for the engine to function and for the heater controls inside, and a few accessories. But it's going to be a pretty basic, bare bones truck. Like, I've never needed air conditioning in a truck before, so why do I need it now? I mean, it doesn't get that hot out here in the mountains, so I just don't find it necessary. But this is going to be a mess right here, pulling this wiring harness out and trying to figure out what wires go to the computer and which wires are independent of the computer, if there are any. Maybe the whole damn truck is controlled through the computer, right down to the turn signals and the brake lights and the headlights. I don't know. I would assume to think that the headlights and the taillights and turn signals are just old-fashioned blinker bulb circuits, and I don't have to worry too much about them. So I'm still up in the air as to what I'm going to do. I really, really like the Hughes Performance Whiplash cam. However, as far as I can tell, it only comes in a flat tappet. And I've got roller cams in here right now, so I'd have to spend the money on a flat tappet lifters and the cam, of course. I'm not sure I want to do that. But it is a really badass cam though too, and it's not overkill. It just sounds really good, and it'll take your low compression engine to basically high compression without actually changing the the physical compression ratio of your engine. It just increases the cylinder pressure by having a longer duration. That's basically how it works. But there's just so many questions. It's like, what do I do with the serpentine system? Like, there's all these freaking options, and they just the price of this build just keeps going up and up. I'm at like $3,000 right now just to get a long block put together, like without a carburetor or any accessories on the front. Just a long block, about $3,000. Good old Mopar, right? So that's kind of where we're at. We'll check you guys later. Ah, that's better. The truck will have more horsepower alone on account of not having 20 pounds of copper wire hanging around in it anymore. All those electronics. So we've got the engine wiring harness as well as the body and headlights wiring harness. Now these I'm not throwing away because I still kind of want my headlights. So we'll just have to rewire the whole damn truck, but whatever, this is what I went to school for, so I have no problem making a new wiring harness, a new dash. So now the engine compartment looks nice and, well, cleaner. Anyway, I've left the vacuum lines in for the most part to see where they go. So one thing about this engine is if I do go with the Whiplash cam from Hughes Performance, it has a little bit lower vacuum than the stock cam. So I think I might want to change the way the blend motor works and make it electric, and just might want to modify some of the vacuum technology in here. That was because the truck was pretty heavily reliant on vacuum technology for a lot of shit. But mainly I only want to have it for the four-wheel drive and the brake booster. That's pretty much all I need it for. I can modify the heat to work without a vacuum blend motor. But yeah, got the wiring harness out. I think I'm about to call it a day for this weekend. I think we got a lot done, just kind of cleaning stuff up today. Engine's taken apart, so I know what I'm dealing with now. So now it's just about consulting a few builders and spending a bunch of money on some speed parts, and hopefully we can have a long block built before the snow flies. Now I don't expect to finish this truck anytime soon. It's probably going to take me like a year before this thing runs and drives again, but you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to pack away this engine harness and get it ready to close up for another day. And we'll catch you guys at the next video, probably next weekend when we start working on it some more. See ya.